Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Last Lap. You guys might be wondering why we're uploading this on a Wednesday, and that's because we're going to be doing our playoff predictions for the NASCAR Cup Series. It's going to be a really fun episode. We each have a bracket that we're going to share all of that with you guys. You'll be able to see it, and we're going to debate a little bit and see whose is better and see what happens in these NASCAR playoffs. But before we hop into it, I just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button and that like button. That would be greatly appreciated. It helps the channel grow. And you can also hit that notification bell as well. That lets you know when we upload a new video, which is usually every Monday and Friday. But this week we're bringing you guys another bonus episode with our playoff predictions. As always, I got my friend and co-host Matthew on the show, and we both know a little. I know your entire bracket, but you don't know all of mine. My bracket's a little more aggressive, I guess you could say, while yours is kind of more predictable. So it'll be a lot of fun discussing this. And what do you have to say? How are you feeling going into this playoffs right here?
Well, I hope it's a great playoffs for these last 10 races. Just keep in mind, our playoff brackets are based off the drivers' performances from this season. So, while I'm predicting that none of these guys are going to have problems, that's likely going to happen. Drivers I have advanced it, they might have an issue. So, yeah, these playoff brackets are not going to be right by the end of the season. So, this will be interesting to see who prevails.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be some surprises of drivers that get knocked out early, and then maybe some that advance a little further than we thought. That's kind of what my bracket is about. I kind of throw a few drivers that might make it a little bit further than we think, and I have a few drivers that might get knocked out early, a little earlier than we think. But I'll let you go first. You can just kind of go through your bracket. I wrote down both of our brackets on paper, so I'll put that on the screen next to you or whatever, and you can kind of just go through your list. So take me through all of your rounds and we'll go from there.
Alright, so we're going to start off with the first round here. And the 4 drivers I have eliminated from the first round. Of course, Michael McDowell. I mean, it was great for him to win the Daytona 500, but let's just be honest, he's going to get swept in the first round. Same thing goes with Eric Almirola. Nice win in New Hampshire, but other than that, he's been not that good. So he's out for sure. And then also got Tyler Reddick out. And while this is his first year in the playoffs, he's a little unpredictable for me because some tracks he's been up there, some tracks he's not really been up there. So that's why I have him out the first round, because of his lack of experience in the playoffs in the Cup Series. And then the final guy to be knocked out, I was going back and forth with this, but I decided to go with Christopher Bell because his lack of experience in the playoffs in the Cup Series. So that's why I have Christopher Bell first guy out. Well, you never know. He might surprise me here. So as for the second round here, the 4 drivers I have out for this round. Of course, I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick as the first guy out the second round. I was going back and forth between him and Christopher Bell because let's just be honest, SHR has had a nightmare of a season, and Harvick has also been part of that. But I feel like his car is still good enough to make it past the first round, so that's why I have him in the second round, but he'll be knocked out in the second round. And then I got Kurt Busch out of the second round. Well, last year I had him out of the first round, and he surprised me and ended up winning at Las Vegas, which made him to the round of 8. So Kurt Busch might surprise me again, but as for right now, I got him out the second round. And then I got Alex Bowman out the second round. And I know that I might be back and forth for some people because he does have 3 wins, but he hasn't really dominated in those 3 wins. So, and I feel like for him to advance, he's going to need a really good dominating performance to win. Or he might just get lucky, and win one of those again, just like Pocono this year. And then, man, this might be a hot take one, but I got Ryan Blaney out of the second round. I know he just won. I know he's been on a tear lately with only 2 finishes in the last 9 races outside the top 10. So he's been on a roll. But, I mean, yeah, I got Ryan Blaney, the first guy out the. It might be close. I mean, I was going back and forth between him and one of his Penske teammates, but I got Ryan Blaney out the second round. And now we get to the third round, and this is when it gets really tricky for me. Okay, so the first. Okay, so I got Brad Keselowski out and also Joe Logano out. Now, Penske, I mean, they've been good, but also not like spectacular like I thought they were, especially from Logano and Keselowski. Like I didn't expect Ryan Blaney to have more wins than those two combined, so that's why I think they're good enough to make it past the third round. But I got them I think they're good enough to get past the second round, but I got them out the third round here, and also. And like I said, this has been tough. I got Denny Hamlin out of the third round here. Now, he's been really consistent all year long. I mean, he led the regular season championship with Kyle Larson most of the year. But, I mean, unless he starts winning these races, I just don't see that making him pass the championship four. And he hasn't. I mean, he was close to Indy Road Course, but he got turned out by Briscoe. So, I'm not 100% sure. So, I'm not 100% sure on him making the championship four, so I got him out. And then the last spot, and I was going back and forth between these two. I got Chase Elliott as the first guy out of the round 3. Like, literally, I think it's gonna be close. Then the cutoff line, I think it's gonna be really close. But I got Chase Elliott out. I mean, he's been the second best driver, third best driver, wherever you see it. You know, if you're talking about wins or you're talking about consistency, he's been around the second, third best Hendrick driver. But his 2 wins this year are on road courses, and on the other tracks, some of the tracks this year he's been good at. Some tracks he's had some bad luck on this year that we're going to. So I'm just not 100% sure if he's going to repeat for the championship, especially when you have a teammate that has just been so dominant this year. And that's when we get to my championship 4. So, of course, I'm going to have Kyle Larson in the championship for clear, obvious reasons. The best driver this season, and also the regular season champion. So he's got all those points. So he better make it to the championship 4. If he doesn't, then that'll be an absolute choke job right there. And then also got Martin Truex Jr. in the championship 4. Now, people might switch him with Hamlin. They might switch him with Elliott. I mean, I could see why. Because, he was really good like the first half. And the second half, he was in a little bit of slump. But I feel like he's starting to get something back together here for the playoffs. So, but I'm not going to count Martin Truex Jr. out. I think he's going to show up at the right time. And that's why I got him in the championship 4. And then I got Kyle Busch in the championship 4. Because especially the second half of the season, Kyle Busch has really ramped it up with these top 5s and top 10s, including those 2 wins at Kansas and Pocono. And Kansas is another track we're going back to for the playoffs. So I feel like Kyle Busch has been really strong in these 550 horsepower package races. As for the 750, he's been good at that, but he hasn't won in that package. So I can see why people might take him out, because a lot of the tracks we're going to in the playoffs are 750. But I feel like Kyle Busch has been really much better in the second half of the season than he was the first half of the season. So that's why I got him in there. And now this might be a controversial one. I have the 4th guy in is William Byron. He's been arguably the most consistent driver. One of the most consistent drivers this season, besides Larson and Hamlin. This man had a long streak of top 10s, especially during the first half of the season. And he did win at Homestead. And I just feel like, William Byron has just been so consistent enough this whole season. I feel like he'll be able to use that as an advantage, to get up to the championship four. But I mean, like I said, you can switch him out with any of those drivers I listed in the round of 8. But that's from what I see. And then the champion, of course, I picked Kyle Larson for clear, obvious reasons. I mean, Larson should have no problem winning this championship the way he has driven this year. I mean, I think everybody can agree with that. But I mean, like, Larson has clutch genes. Don't get me wrong there. The only thing I just worry about that sometimes Larson has the tendency to choke away these races. Like, for example, Atlanta this year, he had the dominant car, led almost every lap. Everything was going right for him until he used up all his tires at the end, and Ryan Blaney saved enough tires, and next thing you know, Ryan Blaney's in the lead and winning. And also Pocono, he was racing his teammate Alex Bowman so much that he didn't take care of his tires, and next you know, blows a tire in the last lap on the last corner. So Larson does have that kind of tendency, but I mean, it's Kyle Larson. He's super talented, so I have confidence in him that he'll be able to pull this off and win the championship. But yeah, that's my playoff predictions right here. Some might be a stretch, and some might be accurate. So let's see what Jimmy has to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, looking at your bracket, it's solid. Like, there's only a few small things I would critique about it, and obviously, like you said, in the third round, Chase Elliott, you have not advancing. But I mean, all the three, Chase Elliott, William Byron, and Kyle Larson, have all been very consistent. So between the three of them, I say you only pick two of them to get to the championship four, and that's what you did. You picked Larson and Byron. So I mean, I feel like most people are going to pick at least two Hendrick drivers to get to the final four, and then the Joe Gibbs Racing as well. Very solid there as well. You'll be surprised. My final four is pretty close to your final four, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and get into my bracket here, and I accidentally spoiled my first round, and Matthew was already a little bit he was already flipping out a little bit, so I'll go ahead and hop into my predictions here. I wanted to be different than you. I didn't want to go into this and be like, oh, well, what's the best bracket possible? Like, who are the best drivers that are going to make it through every single round and get to the championship four? I wanted to spice things up a little bit. I looked at each of the racetracks that are on this schedule, and I went based off of previous knowledge of who's good at this track, who's good at that track, and that went into a little bit of what I decided to go with in this playoff bracket here, but I'm going to go ahead and hop into it. So in my first round, I have these four drivers not advancing. I have Michael McDowell, obviously, Eric Almirola, obviously, and then these next two are going to be a little bit controversial compared to what you did, because I'm going to have Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick as my other two that do not make it out of this round. Now, I was going back and forth here between quite a few drivers. I was going back and forth between Reddick getting out, Christopher Bell getting out. I even threw back Keselowski in that debate for a little bit because he has not ran well this season, but I looked at the racetracks. There's Darlington, Richmond, and Bristol. Kevin Harvick, not really good at Richmond usually. Not very good at Bristol usually. Plus this season he has no stage wins. So it's kind of hard to not go with Kevin Harvick here. And he's last in points. He is 16th in points right now. Granted, it's not that many points behind the people in front of him, but still, he's 16th in points. No stage wins. So that's just why I have Kevin Harvick getting knocked out of the first round. Kurt Busch is debatable. I was going back and forth between him and Tyler Reddick. I feel like Reddick has been getting a little bit better recently. So has Kurt Busch. Both of those cars have been really good recently. But I decided to go with Tyler Reddick here going into the second round and Kurt Busch out just to make things a little bit more interesting here. But yeah, moving on to my round of 12, I have these drivers getting knocked out. So it's Las Vegas, Talladega, and Charlotte. So I have Alex Bowman getting knocked out. Kind of like I just explained earlier, there's the three other Hendrick cars have been way more consistent. Even though Bowman has 3 wins, those other Hendrick cars have been more consistent as of recently. And Kyle Larson, I feel like he could run very well at Las Vegas and at Charlotte. He won the Coca-Cola 600, so he might be able to win Charlotte and Oh wait, no, it's the Roval. Duh.
It's the Roval.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. It's the Roval, but
Larson's also good at road
still,
courses,
yeah.
so still.
Yeah, Larson's good at road courses. So is Chase Elliott. So is William Byron. Bowman has been slacking off a little bit on the road courses, so that might cost him a little bit. You got Talladega in there too. That's a big wild card. So I have Alex Bowman being knocked out of this round. I have Tyler Reddick being knocked out of this round as well. And I also had Christopher Bell advancing into this round as well, which might be a little bit controversial. But I feel like Christopher Bell has been running well, and the Toyotas are good at Richmond and Bristol. So I feel like Christopher Bell could make it into the round of 12 here. It's a really tight gap between like 10th and 16th. So 10th place Brad Keselowski has 2,008 points, and Kevin Harvick in 16th has 2,002 points. So it's only a 6-point gap between 10th and 16th. So this first round is going to be really interesting between those few drivers to see who gets knocked out. But yeah, I also have Christopher Bell being knocked out of the second round as well. And then the final driver I have being knocked out is Brad Keselowski. Now this was really tough for me because in this round of 12, there's Talladega, and all three of the Penske cars are really good at Talladega. So I was like, man, which one do I take out? Because any of them could win and get into the round of 8. But I mean, Ryan Blaney just won Daytona. Joey Logano runs well. They all run well at Talladega. So I just basically closed my eyes and picked a random name, and it happened to be Brad Keselowski because all of those Penske cars are good at Talladega, and any one of them could win and lock themselves in. So I have Bowman, Brad, Christopher Bell, and Tyler Reddick being knocked out of the round of 12. And that leads me to my round of 8. And that is where I have Ryan Blaney being knocked out. This is Texas, Kansas, and Martinsville, by the way. I have Ryan Blaney being knocked out. I also have Denny Hamlin being knocked out just because, kind of like you said, Truex and Kyle Busch just seem to be a little bit better than him this year. I have Joey Logano being knocked out, even though he's been running. He won Kansas last year, I believe, to get into the championship 4, but the Penske cars haven't been the best at some of these racetracks in this round, so I have Logano being knocked out as well. And then I also have William Byron being knocked out. So just the same thing as what you said earlier and what I've said earlier with these Hendrick cars. Those three are pretty much, I feel like Larson is up here, and then Byron and Elliott are kind of right here, right behind him. So I feel like Larson you got to put in your championship 4, which I did, and then it's between Elliott and Byron. And I just put Byron out because I feel like Chase is a little bit better. Martinsville, I feel like that could be a very impactful race right there. They're pretty close on points as well. Chase is 2021, Byron's 2014. So if none of them get playoff points, Chase Elliott would have a 7-point advantage over William Byron going into that round, which could come into play here. That might be what decides the championship 4, and even the round of 8 maybe, is these playoff points and who has a few more points going into each round because they reset after every round back to where they were. So I feel like that could be a big implication going in here. So for that round of 8, I have Blaney, Hamlin, Logano, and Byron knocked out, which leaves my championship 4 with Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott. So pretty similar to yours. I just had Chase Elliott in there instead of William Byron. And I sent you my list earlier, and you were kind of frustrated with my pick here, but I was going back and forth between this all day. I didn't know if I wanted Truex in the Final Four, I didn't know if I wanted Logano in the Final Four, and I didn't know if I wanted Hamlin in the Final Four. And I finally settled on Truex being in that final spot right there. And yeah, here we go. So my champion is going to be...
Oh boy.
My champion is going to be Martin Truex Jr.
Oh wow.
So I picked him because he ran very well at Phoenix in the spring. He won that race. That's also why I was considering putting Joey Logano in there, because he finished second to Martin Truex Jr. But yeah, I just feel like Martin Truex Jr. could come in here and win Phoenix. He was not in the Final Four last year, so we weren't able to see how good he was in that championship race at Phoenix. So Martin Truex Jr. could be a good pick. I'm gonna go with him. Chase Elliott, I mean, he's good at Phoenix too. He won there last year, obviously. I believe he finished fifth in the spring or seventh or something like that. So Chase Elliott could be good as well. I did not pick Kyle Larson just because I have not seen him at Phoenix run as good as Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. Those are the two I was going back and forth for my pick. Kyle Busch you could even throw in there because he won there a few years ago, 2018 in the fall.
And 19.
Or 19, sorry. 2019 in the fall.
Well, both 18 and 19.
Oh, 2018, yeah, there we go. So I just haven't seen Kyle Larson's performance at Phoenix. He could come in there and show everybody up and dominate the race and win Phoenix. I don't know, but just based on what I've seen from him before at Phoenix, I just don't have him winning. So Martin Truex Jr. is my champion. So what do you have to say about that list? What do you have to say about what do you have to say about Harvick being knocked out in the first round and putting Tyler Reddick in instead of Harvick, Christopher Bell in over Kurt Busch, all of that. So what do you got to say about my bracket?
Alright, I'm going to start with the first round, your bracket. And look, I know SHR has not been good at all this year, but I feel like Kevin Harvick will still be good enough to make it at least past the first round. I mean, two of the drivers are automatically going to be out. But I just feel like Reddick has been good at a couple tracks here and there, but I mean, I just don't see Reddick really coming out of nowhere and just, shocking everyone by being the top 5 like every race in the first round. So that's why I have him out. And the same thing I apply to Christopher Bell as well. I mean, both of those are really young. There's their first Cup playoffs, and I just feel like that lack of inexperience is it has an effect on why I put him in the first round. I mean, Kevin Harvick has so much experience from over the years. That's why I have him advancing the first round because, I mean, even though they haven't had a good year, I mean, experience is going to come. I mean, experience is always going to, come down to it. So that's why I have Harvick going to the second round. And man, you really put Kurt Busch out of the first round. Jeez.
Yep.
I mean, Kurt Busch has been pretty solid. I mean, I feel like he's solid enough to get by the second round at least.
I told you it was controversial. I told you it was an interesting bracket for sure. So, back to Kevin Harvick really quick. So you say experience can get him into the second round. Well, look at Jimmy Johnson the past few years before he retired. He's experienced. Didn't even make it to the playoffs. So if you have good cars and you're running well, like Christopher Bell's ran pretty good this year. Tyler Reddick's ran pretty good this year. I feel like Tyler Reddick could go out and get a top 5 or top 10 at Darlington, honestly. I feel like he could come out the gate really strong. Look at Austin Dillon last year for RCR. He came out and I'm pretty sure he got 2 top 10s in a row at Darlington and Richmond. So Tyler Reddick might be able to do the same thing here and sneak his way into the second round. So that's kind of why I have Reddick and Christopher Bell in. Kurt Busch, I was back and forth between Kurt Busch, Tyler Reddick, and Christopher Bell to see which one of them I was going to have leave out. And I just feel like, I don't know, like all 3 of them are running well, but I just feel like Kurt Busch would get the bump here. I don't think he might not run that well at Darlington. I haven't seen him run that well at Richmond either. He's pretty good at Bristol, so maybe he can sneak up there at Bristol, but that's kind of why I went with those guys being knocked out in the first round.
And for the second round, did you have Brad Keselowski out and Ryan Blaney in the third round?
Yeah, I had Brad out and I had Blaney in, and I had Logano in as well. I just didn't know
to be honest, it could go back and forth. I mean, Penske hasn't been as spectacular, but they haven't been bad either. So, I mean, it could go either way, but I mean, I'm not calling Blaney's wins any flukes, but it just seems like it always comes out of nowhere for these wins. It seems like he doesn't really up there dominating like Joe Logano, Brad Keselowski would do. So that's why I have Blaney out, to be honest. But he can always win at Talladega and prove me wrong. So
yeah,
there's always that one.
That's why I was so controversial between the Penske cars, because I was like, well, I feel like Brad hasn't run the best. He's run the worst out of the 3 Penske cars. So I guess that's kind of why I put him out. But he's really good at Talladega, so he could go out and prove me wrong too and win Talladega. So I feel like that's gonna be the biggest wild card in these playoffs. Not really because, or at least for our brackets, not really as far as who gets knocked out because there's still Charlotte after that. But like I feel like whoever wins Talladega, if it's a playoff driver, I feel like that could affect both of our brackets because I have Brad out, you have Brad in, you have Blaney in, or Blaney out, I have Blaney in. So I feel like that could definitely shake it up if a Penske driver ends up winning it, and then you got the Charlotte Roval after that. So that second round is going to be interesting to see who gets into the round of 8 for sure.
Let's see. In the third round, the third round was the toughest for me. People are going to go back and forth if Byron should be in, Byron should be out, if Hamlin should be in or out, or Chase Elliott should be in or out. But, I guess we'll have to see when that time comes. It's all going to depend on if anyone's going to have any problems, if someone makes a surprise run out of nowhere to advance to the championship four. What was the? I can't think of a race this year that's not a road course that Chase Elliott really like dominated, like a race that's not a road course this season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know any races that he's really dominated outside of a road course?
I don't know. He's had good cars at quite a few races. He was really good at Phoenix in the spring. He started in the back. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head just because he hasn't won anything. But he's had good. I feel like in this round right here, I feel like Martinsville could definitely be the place that he leads laps, gets up front. But then you have Truex as well. Truex is really good at Martinsville. The Penske cars.
He won there in the spring.
Yeah, the Penske cars are really good there as well. That's why I was almost going to put one of them in the Final Four because they're really good at Martinsville. Denny Hamlin's really good at Martinsville. So there's a bunch of guys that could win Martinsville too and lock themselves into the next round. So, yeah, any of those 8 could win and get into the Final Four at any of these tracks. But I think Martinsville, well, I know Martinsville's obviously going to be the most important race because it's the last one, but somebody could win that race like a Logano or Keselowski is kind of at the bottom and shoot themselves into the Final Four. So, yeah, the round of 8 is going to be very interesting as well going into the Final Four and who's going to get to Phoenix.
But other than that, I don't really have any complaints besides your first round prediction. Jeez, that was bold right there. But other than that, I have no problem with anything else you put in.
Yeah, I wanted to be a little bit different than what you did. I feel like what I did was a little bit different, and I feel like there's a little bit of logical reasoning behind that as well. Michael McDowell and Eric Almirola are more than likely going to get knocked out unless somebody has a major issue, which could happen. Somebody, like I said, 10th through 16th are within like 6 points of each other. So Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Kevin Harvick, any of them could have an issue and get knocked out at any of these races, Darlington, Richmond, or Bristol. So,
heck, even Kyle Larson could have issues.
Well, yeah, but Kyle Larson's plus 47 above the cut line, so I think he's going to be good, at least for the first round. I think that's almost a given that he'll get.
Well, the second round, the second round might be a different story when you have Talladega and then a road course.
Yeah, the second round could definitely be a little bit interesting. I think this is going to be one of the best playoffs we've had just because of how tight all of the points are. Like I said, 10th through 16th is tight, and then Logano is 5 points ahead of Keselowski. Byron's only 1 point ahead of him. Denny Hamlin's only 1 point in front of Byron. Bowman and Hamlin are tied, so yeah, I feel like it's going to be a really tight playoffs. It'll be interesting for sure. I think it'll be really great, and the competition's really close together as well. Like between those 6 that I've listed several times, 4 of them are going to have to go, 2 of them are going to get in, and they're really tight on points, so I think it'll be interesting playoffs. I'm definitely ready for it to get started this weekend at Darlington. We'll be going to Richmond in a few weeks. That'll be really fun. It'll be interesting to see how the playoffs shake up before Richmond and after Richmond. But yeah, you have anything else to say before we go and wrap it up?
No. I think I explained all my points.
Yeah, we're both ready for the playoffs. Let us know some of your playoff predictions. I talked with some of my friends, and they had some very interesting playoff predictions as well. So let us know if you have any playoff predictions. We'll try to post our brackets on social media as well and see if you guys post on there and comment on there as well what some of your playoff predictions are. But We'll come out with our video more than likely on Friday previewing Darlington. But until then, we will see you guys in our next video.